Good evening. We're ready to begin the April 6th Union County Board of Commissioner meeting. We'll begin tonight with the invocation by Mr. Rushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for bringing us all here safely tonight and pray that you'll be with us as we make the decisions on behalf of the citizens of Union County. Lord, we thank you to live in a country where we take so many matters for granted. We're in overseas and where people are dying, where people have a lot worse problems than we'll ever have. Thank you for blessing this country, and we hope that you continue to bless it. In your precious holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, tonight we'll begin with a public hearing for rezoning requests for 3.756 acres of property. And there was, we need to make a correction on our agenda. I think that was correct. The tax parcels are 06183-020 and 06183-003 from R40 to B2. And we have, and by the way, the advertisement for the parcels was correct. And we have one individual signed up to speak in that rezoning notice, and it's James Allen Lee. So, Brian, you want to start us, and then we'll let Mr. Lee.
As the chairman indicated, this is a rezoning request from R40 to B2 community business. This is a straight rezoning request. This is not a conditional rezoning request, so there cannot be any conditions proposed for the site. It would be either an approval or a denial when the board is ready to make a decision on this. The uses all listed in the table under B2 would all be allowed under this property, with the exception of special use permits. Those require a special permit that they have to go to the Board of Adjustment for. The property is located near the corner of Newtown Road and Providence Road. It's actually fronting on Newtown Road, approximately 960 feet west of the intersection. The property is owned by Ellery Pittman, and as I said before, it is a straight rezoning request. The chairman did correct the parcels. They were advertised correctly, but it was incorrect in the staff report. This property does lie within the county's land use plan for a neighborhood center. Neighborhood centers are defined as property that is retail or service in nature, restaurants, grocery stores, service needs, those types of retail uses. It is in the node that we would consider to be a retail neighborhood center. Those generally range in size from 30,000 square feet to 125,000 square feet. Existing around this property is commercial. It is zoned currently B4 there at the intersection of Newtown and Providence Road. There is a host of different retail and service uses around this piece of property. Just to sort of give you an idea, the property is actually located here and here. It is these two properties. It is 3.756 acres, both owned by Ms. Pittman. The planning board met on this on March the 3rd, and they did give a recommendation of approval for this request. Again, no conditions were proposed for this because it is not a conditional zoning application. Around the property, as I stated, is zone B4. The current property is zoned R40 or residential. Adjacent to it in this section here is the town of Weddington's jurisdiction. That is zoned for residential purposes. And then across the intersection is the Village of Marvin's jurisdiction, also zoned at this point in time for residential purposes. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have, but that is the crux of the project tonight.
Mr. Matthews, you stated that the zoning B2 has multiple opportunities but you also referenced that they were looking for zoning in a a retail environment.
That is correct, yes, sir. B2 is mostly retail.
Well, B2 also has other capabilities as well, so straight zoning under B2 would open it up to all B2 zoning.
Yes, sir.
Now and in the future, is that correct?
That is correct, with the exception of special use permits, which are still available to be obtained, but a special permit has to be issued by the Board of Adjustment.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions, gentlemen? Okay. Mr. Lee?
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, I'm James Allen Lee. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Ellery Pittman, sitting here in the third row, who's the property owner. And, I'll draw your attention to the map that was there. What I would like to point out for this piece of property is you've got the intersection, you've got all the commercial development there right at the intersection, and there's some office spaces, my client's properties, and then there's a large power line easement cut that goes back to the Union Power substation that sits directly behind, which is on the parcel behind her property. So there's on the western edge of her property, there's it's unnatural, there are power lines that divide it from the rest of the property there. So it just makes sense. Nobody's going to want that property for residential development. And I hear what you're saying, Mr. Chairman, about the conditional zoning districts. And my response to conditional zoning is it's just not practical in this situation. My client has the property. She needs to move. She's disabled. She wants to realize the appreciation from that property and the sale of it. And nobody's going to want to build there for a house. As I said, it's got the substation, it's got the power lines, and it's surrounded by commercial property. And she would like to realize the appreciation of that instead of having to go through and develop the property herself, which is what conditional zoning would require, for her to go and do a site plan and have the specific use set out. She doesn't know what that use is. She just wants to sell her property so that she can relocate and live somewhere that's more suitable to her needs. And I would say, we've got a brand new development ordinance, and it sets out regular zoning districts here. And if you look at the districts in the commercial and industrial zoning, there's office, then B2, B3, B4, HC, LI, and HI. And these are all districts that are set out in the new zoning ordinance for different purposes. And if you look at the purpose for B2, community business, it states community business district is primarily intended to accommodate low-intensity commercial uses. It is generally appropriate as a transition zone or to accommodate small-scale commercial development in rural areas, particularly at crossroads or other high-traffic areas that are not generally suited for residential development. I would say that the new land use ordinance that was just adopted addresses this very specific instance. That's what this property is. And this is, the second most restrictive of the business and industrial zoning classifications you have. The only one that is more restrictive is office. And the reason we didn't choose office was because it does not allow for retail or restaurant space, which we think are viable potential uses for this property. So I would say to you, and I would ask you to approve this rezoning on behalf of my client so that she can sell the property and realize the value of her property instead of having to sell it to a developer at a discount and let them do it. And our county, it desperately needs commercial development and growth. Our tax base is highly residential. This is a prime area. We're not, we don't have neighbors. Through the planning board and here today, the public notices, I haven't seen neighbors. I don't believe anybody else was signed up to speak. So there's not opposition because, in my opinion, this is a perfect site for some commercial development. My client had a hard time getting in today. She wanted to sign up when she went out to, when she came in, the note was already left. I believe she would like to say a word if y'all would permit it.
That'll be fine.
Well, I'm not using it, but to the Union County Board, to whom it's concerned, I want my property. Why I want it to rezone is I'm not able to do anything. I can't take care of my business. I can't go see about things, and I have to bring my children things from their job in order to lose their job. And I was just hoping y'all could help me out here tonight. I can't stand long, and I can't walk maybe up to the corner of the building there and back without giving out of breath. I hope you all will take it under consideration to rezone my property that I might be able to accept it. Thank you.
Thank you. James Allen, can I ask you a question, please, sir? I noticed that the sale sign at the location says under contract.
Yes, sir.
Is there intended use?
There is not an intended use, no, sir. Gerald Heyman has a potential buyer contingent on it being rezoned to B2.
Okay. All righty. Any questions, gentlemen? Thank you,
you.
sir. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you coming to speak with us. Next, we'll conduct a public hearing. Reference to the Board of Commissioners' consideration of requesting that Union County Board of Elections hold an elections regarding the countywide sale of certain types of alcohol and operation of ABC stores. Commissioner Akins, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, as indicated in the last meeting, I just wanted to allow opportunity for the public to have their say before we render the decision on this.
Okay. Mr. Manager, is there anyone to speak on the details of it, or?
We can. Sorry, you caught me just a little unaware. I apologize. The item that was at your last meeting 3 weeks ago, there was an item put forth, not by staff, but by, I believe it was Commissioner Rushing, as to the February primary, putting on the ballot an election for individuals to determine within the county as to whether or not they wanted to be able to, the range is everything from ABC stores to liquor by the drink in restaurants, beer and wine within grocery stores, etc. Staff put forth that initiative. At that meeting, as was indicated, Commissioner Akins did in fact request that a public hearing be conducted. The board by vote indicated they would do so, and that is the purpose of the hearing this evening. If you want any more details as it relates to the legalities of this particular agenda item, I would ask Mr. Crook to answer any of those questions or provide that additional information, since he's done the research on this one.
Jeff, I think basically what we're looking at is the capabilities that municipalities have today, extending that throughout the county. Is that a fair statement?
We really wouldn't want to speak to what the municipalities can do. What this is to authorize the Board of Elections to hold a referendum. I believe that the point that it was scheduled would be the first possibility in 2016, which I think will be in February. The presidential primary has not been established yet, so that they would have to come back to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
But there are 4 different questions on the draft resolution that was sent up, and I really don't have anything further to add unless the board has questions.
Okay. So therefore, we will begin our public hearing. Mr. John Hurley.
Good evening. I'm Reverend John Hurley. I have spent 30 years in ministry, ministering to folks who are addicted, and we certainly should be knowledgeable that we have an epidemic right here in Union County. I hold a meeting every Tuesday night at First Presbyterian Church under the umbrella of First Baptist Church out of Indian Trail. And we have 40 to 50 people there every Tuesday night. Most of them have come out of jail trying to improve their lives and have gotten caught in the trap of addiction. And my question to you tonight is, how much time and thought has been put into what the cost is going to be adding more liquor sales in Union County when we have roads that these kids are getting killed on almost on a weekly basis out here? I can't tell you how many teenagers that out of our church alone has ended up dying in an automobile wreck after drinking. So, you know, I'm also chairman of the board of Safer Communities Ministries. Reverend Al Lewis is the director, and he is also chaplain of the Union County Jail. We minister in the jail on a weekly basis in a life skills class, and we also have over 100 volunteers going into jails on the weekend. And I don't have any statistics, but I know at least 60% of the people that are being held there are there because of alcohol or drug-related problems and issues. So I would ask you to please consider the cost of what this legislation will do. And from what I have read, the income that's always touted from the ABC stores is not what it seems to appear when people are voting. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Rick Park or Parker? Oh. How you doing, Rick?
How are you doing? Good evening. Good. I'm just going to I'm not going to take but a couple of minutes. I just wanted to make an appeal to you that I too am involved in the ministry with John, Safer Communities Ministries and the Addiction Recovery Ministry. And I can sit here and stats all night long, and everybody can read stats, and you can read what you want to in the stats. But I would just ask you to, this is going to cost something to put it in, and the revenue that you're going to get from, is it really going to offset what you want to do? If it's going to cost more officers, equipment to put into action, is it really worth it for what you're going to get out of it? Not counting the fact that when they go home at night, when people go home at night, there's a risk on the highway. I work at UPS, and I've been a truck driver for 20-some years, and I promise you, I've seen many bodies in bags because of someone that's been drunk. I was coming home the other night down 485, and there's one met me in the left-hand lane. I was in the center lane, and he was in my side of the road going the opposite way. Had to be drunk. So I would just ask you to please consider the facts before you vote on this, because alcoholism, my mother and father's side of the family both had alcoholics in them, and it was a problem with the family. Abuse, domestic abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse, and there's just all kinds of abuse associated with alcohol. I'm against it 100%, and I would just like for you to really consider before you vote on this. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, we'll close our public hearing. Next, we'll move to our informal comments. Each speaker must address the board from the lectern and begin their remarks by giving their name, stating whether they are residents of Union County, indicating the municipality within which they reside, if any, and stating the topic about which you intend to speak. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make remarks. A speaker may not yield any of his or her time to another speaker. Speakers may not discuss matters which are subject to public hearings, and they must be courteous in their language and presentation. Restatements of repetitive comments by the same speaker, whether at the same or separate meetings, may be ruled out of order and terminated by the chair. Personal attacks will not be tolerated. Speakers may leave written comments and supporting documentation, if any, with the assistant county manager seated to your right. Our first is Charlene Balcom. Good evening, Ms. Balcom.
Good evening. My name's Charlene Balcom. I live in Marshville, North Carolina, and I've been a resident of Union County for 28 years. And I'm here to speak on behalf of the Union County Library. I am a member of the Board of Trustees, and my fellow trustees and library supporters and employees are here with me tonight. We're all dressed in white, so you can't miss us out there. And we're here to appeal to you this evening on behalf of the kids of Union County and the teenagers of Union County for additional libraries and additional library monies to help support that. We currently have a library in the Waxhaw area that's servicing a very large community with a very small space and doing a phenomenal job of it, by the way. The number of people that patron that library is available as statistics that we can give you. On a personal note, what the library has done for me and my family. The other speakers have talked about costs, and my son is currently 28 years old. He is a civil engineer with Boeing Corporation in St. Louis. He went to Piedmont High School, Piedmont Middle, and New Salem. And Marshville was our library. And I took my children there at every opportunity, and they were able to get resources and help. I'm giving you my son's successes, but also letting you know when he was in the 3rd grade, he was, and still is, dyslexic. And it wasn't discovered till he was about 8 years old. And we tried everything in terms of getting him help. And it was the Marshville Public Library that was the source of my support and his help with Hooked on Phonics, with the reading programs, with prizes for reading books, and support for him. And so I know out there right now, there's a child in the Waxhaw or Weddington area that needs that support. And I hope and pray that 25 years from now, another mom can stand up here and say, because of the Waxhaw Weddington Library, my son was able to succeed and flourish. And I just hope you'll consider funding for that area, and thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I'm going to apologize in advance for butchering Gail Antonopoulos.
Yes, my name is Gail Adnolfi, and I live in Waxhaw, speaking on the same subject. And the library in Waxhaw is woefully inadequate. Frankly, it is shocking. The parking spaces are severely limited. In fact, we have 5 parking spaces and 1 for handicapped people. And after 2:30, when parents of school children, and I've experienced this with my grandchildren, taking them to the library and having to go round and around, wait for a parking space, and then going home because simply cannot get to the library. Parking across the street is for school buses, so it's not allowed. The parking spaces themselves are on a severe incline, which is a hazard for older citizens like me, risking broken bones, and for children exiting from these cars. I'm surprised there are no lawsuits against the county for such a hazardous situation. And the library building is so small that only a few people can fit in the narrow aisles, and obviously the number of books available is also not what it should be due to the size of the space constraints. We are new to the area, and I was shocked to see what Waxhaw had for a library. In Southern Pines, where we lived for many years, we had a wonderful library, and they had classes, and they had many programs for people, which our little library cannot possibly hope to have. Certainly the growth in the Waxhaw area would indicate a healthy tax income for the county. We have Weddington, Marvin, Waxhaw, all filled with families comprised of all ages. The citizens of Waxhaw deserve a better library with opportunities for reading for enjoyment as well as enlightenment, classes for enrichment, and programs for young children. A new, larger, more easily accessible library would make this possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next we'll move on to additions, deletions, and/or adoption to the agenda. Any changes?
Motion to approve the agenda as written.
Okay, any discussion? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask that we, in the absence of Mr. Simpson, Commissioner Simpson,
Okay.
that we remove the referendum question.
On the alcohol sales? Okay. Commissioner Rush.
And I would like to do that as well, but maybe as it comes up, because I do have some discussion. I don't know if it's proper to do it during the removing it from the agenda. I would like to also wait until Commissioner Simpson can join us so it can be a decision by the full board. But I would like to have some discussion in light of some information that I was made aware of that I'd like to ask some clarification on some information. So if you don't mind just leaving it on for that, I'll ask to delay it when it comes up on the agenda. Can I do that? Or can we discuss it during taking it off the agenda, or?
Can we remove it
There's
when
some
we get down and have discussion? I think is what Commissioner.
Defer consideration.
Yeah, there's some direction to staff that I'd like to ask for. Does that sound?
I'll be happy
Is
to
that
yield that,
acceptable?
yes.
Okay. So we have a motion to adopt the agenda as printed. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the consent agenda as printed?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, next, Commissioner Rushing, is our opportunity to discuss the resolution requesting Board of Elections.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before the meeting, I was made aware of some information that may be available from the Sheriff's Department. And, what I would like to ask is, I think was there some safety concerns, I think, Mr. Akins, that you had from the Sheriff's Department? Mm-hmm. Okay. what I would like to ask is that we delay the vote on the alcohol referendum until all 5 commissioners are present. And in doing that, I would like to ask the staff to review the information provided from the Sheriff's Department and give us recommendations. And I would also like to find out about what the like to look at the county policy on alcohol use on county property and how that affects safety issues as well. So after we decide on a referendum, if we could look at our county policy on alcohol on county property, what's our policy there?
Okay. My only comment is that we heard Mr. Parker and the other gentleman this evening, and I've only had one person approach me with concerns about it. I would encourage our citizens to talk to your commissioners, and so when it comes to the 20th, we can make a fully enlightened decision on whether to move forward with this referendum. Yes, sir.
I would also ask, not only in addition to the safety, but I'd like to hear from economic development what kind of revenue this potentially could generate for the county, if any.
Okay.
I would also ask that the sheriff or his designee be here to present their case.
All righty. Would you also like Mr. Platay to?
Whoever they want to use it.
All right.
He or his designee would be fine.
We'll contact them and put that on the April 20th agenda to address that.
Okay.
All in favor of moving it to April 20th?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, next we have the employee survey.
Yes, and if I could ask Mr. Watson to come forward, and I'll pass something out to the board. This is in response to, I don't have the exact date in front of me, but the Board of County Commissioners had agreed to conduct an employee survey. A committee was established that I believe consists of Mr. Watson, Commissioner Jerry Simpson, and Chairman Richard Helms. Some new information has come to light recently. Mr. Watson is going to present that for the board's consideration and action.
All right. Mr. Watson.
Good evening. The committee has had 2 meetings, and just to bring the commission up to speed, the request for proposal that you approved, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, that has been advertised. The county's in the process of receiving proposals for consulting work to develop a employee survey. At our first meeting, the committee, there was quite a bit of discussion about the detail that's left to be undone at this point. The RFP process is not completed yet. The deadline is not for another, I believe, a week and a half, 2 weeks. So that's still in process. As the county manager stated a moment ago, about 2 weeks ago, an opportunity came to light. She became aware of an opportunity that was being offered by the Charlotte Observer. They, along with 30 other major newspaper publishers across the country, are engaging in a program called the Top Workplace Program. And what they are doing is they have identified a consultant who has developed an employee survey that the publishers are encouraging employers within their markets to voluntarily participate in. Based on the results of the survey, the top 25 employers in that market would be selected based on the results or the survey results that how their employees feel about them and the work they do. Okay. So at that point in time, when Manager Koto made me aware of the program, she asked me to look into it, see what we needed to do to participate and things like that. We did not know that it entailed an employee survey at that point. I had envisioned, quite honestly, that I was going to have to write a thesis and tell everybody what a wonderful place this was to work, but that's not the case, thank goodness. But when we found out that it was an employee survey, I did have a discussion with the manager. We talked about it, and I actually had obtained some information about the process. You have the proof of the survey that's used by this program, and this will be used in all 30 markets across the country. So this is not just something that'll be used in the Charlotte market by the Charlotte Observer, but it'll be used in every major market across the country. This is the paper version of that survey. It's a 22-question survey with some room for employees to make written comments. There's also an online opportunity, or an opportunity for the survey to be administered online. And we have the capability of doing that because all of our employees have work email addresses. If we were to use that format with this program, the cost to the county there would be no cost to the county, which I think is very attractive, one of the very attractive parts of the program. The survey itself, again, is 22 questions. It really focuses on two parts divided into three subparts. One part is focused on the organization itself, how it's operated, the value of the service it provides, etc. The second part focuses on the employees, how they feel about their job. The subparts are the direction that's given within the organization, the execution of that direction, and the connection that the organization has with its employees. On the employee side, it's how they feel about their work, how they view their management, their supervisors, the direction they're given, the opportunities they're given, and then also their pay and their benefits. One of the challenges that we would be facing if we were to move forward with the request for proposal process is the development of this survey. I have no idea what kind of timeline that may, or how much time that may take. It may take weeks, several months. At this point, we really don't know. We have a basic understanding of what we were looking for, but the survey is yet to be developed. With this process, the survey is already developed. As you can see, the questions are very well thought out. From start to finish, from the start point of if the board elected to use this process in lieu of continuing with the RFP and developing our own process, you would be looking at a 4-week time frame. From the time the survey started to the time that the surveys ended would be 2 weeks, and then there would be additional 2 weeks to collate the answers and get the reports back and things like that. The county would be receiving a summary report inclusive of the entire organization based on the results, the responses to the questions. We could also break that down by either division, service area or division, or smaller components if the organization so chose to do that. But that would all be included in a summary report at no cost. There are additional reports that are available. I am just now learning about those. I had some conversation with the consultant that is operating this program today. I do not have the cost of the additional reports. They would be more detailed reports and allow us to, as they put it, slice and dice the data to gain a better understanding of the responses that our employees give us. There would be a cost to that. I don't know what that cost is. I don't anticipate or expect that it would be very expensive. But again, I don't know what that cost is going to be. Are there any questions about this process? The recommendation of the committee is that the Board of County Commissioners approve the use of this process at no cost through the Top Workplace program, and to stop the RFP process that we currently have out on the street.
Any comments? Yes, sir.
I commend the committee for finding what I deem to be a very suitable replacement option to the RFP. So, job well done, gentlemen and ladies, whoever was on that committee.
As being part of that committee, and also the commissioner that requested the original survey, I think this meets our needs, and we did agree in committee that this was a very viable option and a very attractive price. Well,
if I may, it allows participating in a survey of this scope. Allows us to gain a real-time perspective as to where we stand as an organization in relationship to other organizations. The summary report will give us a picture of all of the respondents across the country as compared to us. If we purchase the drill-down options, we'll be able to compare ourselves to other governmental entities across the country that participate in the same survey. Again, we're talking apples to apples in terms of they'll be using the same survey we're using, which I think is very attractive in a process like this.
Mr. Rush.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too would like to commend the committee and staff. This is great. The only complaint I ever heard of the survey was how much is it going to cost, and you solved that problem. So that very job well done with you guys. Cindy, for you recognize, I think you said you had dealt with this before in Florida. The company I used to work for, we used metrics to compare ourselves to other companies that were just like us. That's what this is going to give that we wouldn't have had with just our own thing. So way to have your eyes open, and you've done a great job for the taxpayers and saved a lot of money.
You're welcome. Any other comments? No. I did have the opportunity to speak with the sheriff this afternoon. I think in the original RFP version of the process we were headed down, his department was not included in that. I did share the survey with him. I had a discussion about his employees participating as a total group, county group. He was absolutely supportive 100%, looks forward to it. He reviewed the survey, had no suggestions, no questions about it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Commissioner Simpson.
Well, I'll just take the opportunity to speak and say I think this will provide us with a very proactive benchmark and give us that outside look at other governmental agencies that we can compare to, and provide us that flexibility that Mark mentioned, that we can further the process should we feel the need. So at that point, I will authorize participation in the Top Workplace program sponsored by the Charlotte Observer, and also recommend that we, or move that we authorize the Development and Selection Committee to cancel and withdraw the RFP process for employee survey services.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of Commissioner Simpson's motion?
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all's hard work. Next, we have appointments to boards and committee. First, 8A, is there 2 members in the Board of Adjustment expire on April 19th, Mark Tilley and Jennifer Stewart. Applications had been received from Mark Tilley for reappointment and Jennifer Stewart for reappointment, and a Daniel Frazier. We have two options. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Akins.
I move that we appoint Mark Tilley and Jennifer Stewart, reappoint the two of them.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have Board of Equalization and Review for appointment of members and appointment of chair for 2015. Term of Frank Howey will be, has come to conclusion, will expire on February 2015. Applications for this vacancy were received as William Allen and Mike Rape. Do we have a motion on replacing Mr. Howey? Can I make a motion that we approve Mike Rape? He's a longtime citizen of Union County and a former county employee as well. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Has also requested that the commissioners appoint a member of Board of Equalization to serve as their chair. And based on conversations I had with two of the individuals that were recommended by their board, the individual is out of town and would like to defer this till the 20th of April and ask that the existing chair, I think they have a meeting the same date as our meeting, and ask that the existing chair that meeting, and then we'll appoint once we have an opportunity to talk to the other members. Is that acceptable? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Planning Board. The terms of 3 members, regular members on the Planning Board, expire April 19th. Application's been received by Robert Trefani for reappointment, Roger Stanton for reappointment, Sean Mayer for appointment, and we had a new applicant come in this morning, Jeff Arthur. Yes, sir.
Motion to reappoint Robert Trafficani Jr., Roger Stanton, and appoint Sean Moore.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. All opposed? Okay. Union County Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. The term of Kathy Turner of Union County Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee expired December 2014. Ms. Turner has applied for reappointment. Do we have a motion to reappoint Ms. Turner?
Motion to reapply Ms. Turner.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Local Emergency Planning Committee, it's our responsibility as Board of Commissioners to appoint a chair for this committee. And actually, I sit on this committee and actually got in a little trouble because I even asked the question, who needs, who's recommended for this? The entire board that I spoke to came back with the same name, and it's a gentleman that has been working tirelessly, supporting Neil Spear in this. And may I make a motion that we appoint Don Moyer, Emergency Management Coordinator, as the chair of the LPC. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. And that comes to the manager's comments.
I have no comments this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Simpson?
No comment.
Commissioner Akins?
I just appreciate Commissioner Simpson removing that item off the agenda until the full board can be here. I find it a little alarming that the information that I shared came directly from our Sheriff's Department. The fact that
we were prepared to take a vote on something tonight without even having asked the Sheriff's Department the impact is a little alarming to me. So I certainly hope that my colleagues will take this time to find out the facts of what you're putting forth on this referendum. No further comments, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Rush.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too agree that we need to pull that off and look at it in light of the information that was provided about 5 o'clock by Commissioner Akmus. I do think that in light of that information, we probably do need to look at our issues affecting other county areas. If we're not comfortable with letting our county stores sell alcohol, then absolutely we should not be providing alcohol at our county facilities. So look forward to that discussion and look forward to the information going over by staff at our next meeting.
And I appreciate the group from the library that took time to come out here today, this evening. And I too think it's much better for us to wait until we have all commissioners available for this. I look forward to hearing all sides and concerns from this issue. And with that, I wish all a good night and thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Aye.